up, everybody? Blue Radio 13.fm, and I have been looking forward to this one for ever since he said, "Hey, Drew, I'm available." We've got Patrick from Faithhead on tonight, and I just have a feeling you guys are going to want to hang around for this one because it's going to be fun. Patrick, how you doing, bud?
Drew, I'm doing great, man. I'm finally glad we got a chance to do this. I love Radio 13. I appreciate the support you've given us over the years, and we've tried to reciprocate the best that we can. I'm just glad we could make tonight happen.
Absolutely, me too. And I am so happy with like artists like you and bands like yours that interact, with small little hole in the wall stations like myself. It just means a lot to us, and it means a lot to really kind of get into your music, which we're going to talk quite extensively about. But more importantly, the ministry that you guys
Yeah.
currently have. And so I'm just excited to kind of jump right into it, give you accolades right off the bat. You had a song a couple years ago called Freak Show.
Mm.
And Freak Show was I never asked for permission because I figure on a Christian station, if I do somebody wrong, I'll just ask God for forgiveness. But, anyways, that was our official um, song for our live shows for quite some time because our show ends up being a bit of a freak show. So,
No, that's awesome. I didn't know that. I did
yeah,
not know that. It's awesome.
well, I
I'm
tried.
glad you used it.
Yeah. I mean, I absolutely love that song. And that song there, it wasn't the first song we played of yours, but it was one of the songs that just hooked. And I think last year, it was probably in our top 10 songs played in
Huh.
rotation. So I just dig on that song a lot. So
That's
let's
awesome.
talk a little bit about that and talk about the freaks that you're talking about in that song, if you don't mind.
Well, Freak Show was originally penned by our original singer, uh, Jason Beavers, who we're all still amazing friends with, and he's still a supporter of the band. I think a lot of Faithhead's music is directed towards, atheists, non believers, it's just people who think they're smarter than an all knowing God, basically.
Yep.
And as far as that song goes, yeah, it's kind of if Faithhead was Motorhead, that's kind of going to be our Ace of Spades, I'm afraid,
Yeah.
so to speak. So we can't. I love the song. It's a great song live, and I wish I could take credit for it, but that one was penned originally by Jason, and we just Faithheaded it up. We just tweaked it,
Hey, headed it
and
up.
yeah, we do that a lot.
I love it. Like we were talking briefly before this. Just so you know, I have a lot of squirrel moments. I don't go down rabbit holes. I do all of that. This is one of them, by the way.
Are you sure
Faith,
you're not a musician?
yeah. No, my parents and my family was. They said, "What do you play?" I say, "I play the radio and I play the television. That's what I play." I'm sorry, that's all I do. But the Faithhead name, I
Hmm.
found it quite interesting when I was, I actually did a little show prep. Uh, Talk about the Faithhead name because I thought it was so cool. I never really correlated that together.
Yeah, I had been in two Christian bands prior to Faithhead. One was called Burning Altar, which was started by a guy named Josh Bearden and a drummer named Nathan Stanhope. And then when that band ended, I jumped into a core band called Covered Scars. They were called Covered in Scars, but at the time I joined, somebody had trademarked their name out from under them, and then we were Covered Scars when I was in it. So at the time, I'd been I was married, and still married to the same woman. But I just new in my marriage, I should probably say. And I wasn't really sure if I was going to do a band again. It was kind of one of those. It was fun, and I'd wait. And prior to Burning Altar, I kind of waited. I had to wait on the Lord like 3 years, for God to do something with me. And it was one of those moments where I was like, I'm not going to force this. If you want me you want me to use these talents for the kingdom, you're going to have to make it happen. So I was kind of in that post covered scars. If you're going to want me to use my skills, you're going to the one that's going to have to make it happen, because this is a terrible thing, and you may want to edit this out later, but
I don't have anything.
well, I'm famous for saying Chattanooga is where strippers and musicians go to die, and it's truer than you know. But the long and short of it, it's not the best town to make form bands in. It's I've been playing music well over 30 years now, and it's like everybody's cycling back around again. But I was like, you're the one that God, you're the one that's going to have to make this happen in this town, and that's way I know it'll be a miracle that it actually happens. So, and I didn't have a note, didn't have a song, a lyric, or nothing. I hadn't started my own project probably since I was in college.
Wow.
And that's I last time I started a band, it was 10, 15 years, something. I don't know, whatever it was. Yeah, no, I don't know. Anyways, I wasn't about to start another secular band, and that's a long story unto itself. But I was driving somewhere between Charlotte, Atlanta, or Birmingham. I was in my day job. I was in between cities, and I was at the time I listened to a lot of Ravi Zacharias International Ministries, and of course he's long gone now, and his ministry actually ended in disgrace. But he had a guy named Dr. Michael Ramsden, who's still around and still a reputable guy. And I was just, I like to listen to preachers on the radio, and it was in between. I think I was listening to it on Moody or some station like that. And Dr. Ramsden, he's from England, and he goes, "The world thinks we're all a bunch of faith heads." I think to myself, faith head? What's a faith head? It's not like Motorhead, but biblical. Because I'm a huge Motorhead fan, so I was thinking, faith head? What's a faith head? And it's just basically somebody who, it's the modern day version of Jesus freak. That's right. What it is. And of course, the Urban Dictionary defines it as somebody who believes something regardless of the evidence. But Christianity is not a blind faith.
No,
we have mountains of evidence. We've got mountains of aisles upon, like 3 football fields long of parchment and scripture. There's tons of archaeological evidence. But after that, I was like, faith head. And then the music just started coming. Then I started writing music, and I was trying to, it's like, okay, I guess this thing's going to happen now. So, and like Frankenstein's monster, it just keeps going, no matter how much I want it to end. Sometimes.
What I like about in your biography, when you're talking about that a little bit, is something that I say on the show often, that you talk about Christianity and being a Christian and proclaiming Christ as your Savior and proclaiming that this is the way to go. I mean, it's the new punk rock scene. I mean, we are going against the man,
right.
And it's Jesus was the original rebel, as far as I'm concerned. He came down and just tore everything up. And it's funny now. You look at the people that are the quote unquote the man. Those were the people that were fighting against the man,
right.
40 years ago, and now they become the man. And Christianity, the way I look at it and the way I talk about it, is it truly is that last bastion of rebellion against a completely sordid world. Or I could be completely wrong, and we are truly outcasts. But I just look at it this way: we're visitors here.
Sure. I mean, if you look at the history of people who are disruptors, Christ was the ultimate disruptor. And if you've studied history and you look at all the evidence of the evolution and the development of the church, people cannot deny that something happened in Judea,
Yep.
Jerusalem, that split, Judaism into two sects. You still have the Jewish sect, and then you have the Christian sect, and then you have these 12 guys, Judas not Iscariot, who all go on to be martyred, and they experience something then that caused them, to die very painful and ignominious deaths. If they if I have to go to the doctor and they do something painful, I'm like admitting crimes I never committed. I shot Kennedy. I was young and dumb and acted alone. The minute the red hot poker goes out, it wasn't me. Yeah. But these guys, I mean, I think Matthew was flayed alive. All the horrible deaths that they suffered because they couldn't deny what they saw.
And that's exactly right. And that's kind of my argument to a lot of people that a lot of them, they chide. Maybe it's just me because I look like a person that should be chided, but they chide me on my belief or whatever. And it's like, okay, well, let's talk about the 11 disciples, 13 if you want to call Matthias in there. But they didn't gain anything from this. They gained hardship. They gained pain. They didn't gain wealth. They didn't gain popularity. They were hated. And from exactly what you said, from what they saw, from what they witnessed, from what they felt and faith and touched after the 3 days.
Yeah. And it's the same thing in my life too. I can't deny the things that have happened. It's easier to live a secular lifestyle, go with the flow. It's tough.
Yeah.
There's been people who have in and out of the band that said, you would get more gigs if you just change your name.
Yeah.
But then I'd be denying who we are.
And then what's next? You got to change your message just to fit in a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not, what I dig about you guys will play anywhere. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's in a bar, in a church, in a park, or whatever. You're gonna play, and the message remains the same.
Yeah.
And that's what I dig on, and those are the kind of artists that I really like to kind of tie ourselves to. People that are completely unashamed. Radio 13 was based on 13 Mark 13:13. You're going to be hated by just for his name's sake.
Yeah.
But you know what? I've lived long enough that I'm so close to the end. I'm going to finish it. I'm going to finish the end, and I'm going to do it pridefully, sinner. I'm going to do it. In having pride that I am a follower of Christ.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to follow anybody, man, I'm going to follow the baddest dude to ever walk the face of the earth. And when you look at what he's done for all of us, to deny that, yeah, I ain't going down that road, man. So let me ask you something here.
Sorry, you kind of made it. You kind of paused there for a second. I was waiting for the delay to get through.
No, that's all right. I will. Okay, I lied already. I said I'm not going to edit it. I'll edit that part out. So, anyways, we go from that to one of our most played songs. Then you drop "Splinter in the Eye" a little while later. Oh my God, that song, crazy song. And if you think we're talking about crazy songs, we're just building up. But "Splinter in the Eye," love that song, and I love the message behind it.
Oh yeah, that was a good one. Vocalist Adam Reed, and that was a good collaboration too. He penned most of those lyrics. Brian and Montgomery, who was in the band, and Dale Adams, primary musical architects on that one too. Very good song. That was one of those ones where lyrically we're like, yeah, but finish it. It's like it says, God says not to judge. Okay, so what's the rest of it? What's the rest of that statement that he made?
Yep.
So, but all of our music, and I think ultimately when it gets to the album that we just released this year, we've been one of our friends, Tony Marks, said, you guys have been moving towards something. you've been pointing in a direction with your songs over the last several years, and referring to the album. Yeah, I think from all the way back to the first album to Genesis to all the singles that led up to this album. Yeah, and we're unapologetically honest.
Yeah.
That's the hard part about it, is just being honest in a world that's offended by truth.
Yeah.
And
100%.
we can't not be honest in the fact that if you love somebody, you're going to correct them. If you love somebody, you're going to warn them. And I see a lot of artists who are just trying to play off that, God of love, that psychedelic super Jesus, as Bride used to say, that hippie Jesus that's all love. But the other side of God is wrath too.
Yeah. Yep.
It's coming. you
Yeah.
know the bill comes due.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. I mean, he's already paid the bill,
Right.
but man, we have to earn it. As Christians, we have to earn it. We can't deny it. What you were saying, it reminds me of, again, rabbit hole, sorry, or squirrel moment. Penn and Teller. So Penn, who is an avowed atheist, I saw an interview with him, and he was talking about Christianity, and it
Hmm.
just resonated with me so much. And he was talking about, he was asked the question about, you get tired of Christians, trying to jam this in your face, and he says no. He says not at all. Actually, he goes, if they believe what they believe, and they believe that there is an eternal place where there's no pain and there's no sorrow, and on the flip side of that, that if you don't believe in Jesus, that you are going to go down and you are going to suffer for millennium and you're going to suffer for eternity. He goes, if they are not out there blasting that message from the rooftop, he goes, I can't stand them. He goes, I want those Christians to be there, because if you really care that much about somebody and you refuse to witness to them, to talk about the good and the bad, if you don't care enough about people to put that in their face, shame on you. He goes,
Yeah.
those are the Christians that I can't stand. He goes, as an atheist, I look at it, one way or the other. He goes, but if you believe that, how dare you not tell your neighbor, your friends, your family
Sure.
about this wonderful thing that you believe in? So,
Yeah.
like you said, we can't be ashamed of this.
Yeah. I mean, salvation is a free gift. It was
Hmm.
paid for. It's free. You can't. There's nothing I can do. I can accept it or not.
Hmm.
So that is the crux of it all.
Yeah.
Now, unless you're a Calvinist and you're just waiting for someone to say, "Hey, you're good. You
Come on in.
come on in."
Yeah, exactly.
I think,
So,
and
go
there is
ahead.
a paradox. I mean, to me, it's a paradox.
Yeah.
If you have to understand who God is and things like that. I think the God knows, but if that whole free will versus God knowing, to me, it is a paradox. I will say that, but what I do as an as a musician, a songwriter, as an artist, are merely reflections of my appreciation of what God has done. I promise you, Drew, if Faithhead was about me or my ego or what I wanted, I would have quit a long time ago,
Yeah.
because it's hard. And there's no money in this. Most of everything that we do comes out of our own pockets. Merch sales, people who donate, and most of the time when we generate revenue to keep the ministry going, it's from live shows. I mean,
Yeah.
it's what we do.
Yep, and
And
that's one thing that we try to push all the time. Get out there and support artists
yeah,
like you, bands like you. A lot of times, your live show and your merch table, that's paying the gas. That's getting you to the next. That's getting your
yeah,
next meal. And we say on and on that streaming is great. Faithhead can get that 0.0125 cent of a stream. Yeah, that's awesome. They'll have $72 after 3 million streams. But go out there and do what you can. Buy a hat, buy a shirt. Download a song. So
yeah,
that's one thing that we always do, and it's I know it's very slight, but all the music that we have on our station, everything that's in our library, is purchased, and that's our way of, so we can't really say, hey, go out and buy a hat, and hey, Patrick, give me some free music. That's just, that's not what we do. So we established that right off the bat.
Yeah. No.
So
Well,
um,
and that's kind of the crux of when you put things on Spotify, because you kind of got that moral quandary, because I was everybody's putting out their Spotify Wrapped right now. It's kind of
yep.
the in thing artist to do, and I made the mistake of sitting down and do it. I do the math every year. You won't see it. Occasionally, I'll put it out there, and I'm like, "Hey, this is," and I'll say, "Hey, this is our Spotify Wrapped. This is the money that we would have got." And I'll do the math, and someone said, you probably don't do that. It makes you sound kind of petty. I'm like, I don't know. So I've not been doing it for the last couple of years, but I sat down the math, and I did the math on the new album, how many times they said it was streamed, and I
Yep.
did the math on how many times it was streamed. If people had actually bought it, it would have funded our ministry for 3 years.
Wow, that's crazy,
If
right
it,
there,
if it
people. That's why you got to download. I mean, you got to do it and
yeah.
pay for it. If you can afford to do it, you got to do it, man.
And it makes me sick every time that I'm like, but and there's a part of me that's like, no, there's somebody that's lost out there that's going to find us on Spotify and it's going to make an impact and all that fun stuff. So I don't know. It's a double-edged sword,
Yeah,
and I guess it's the sword that we fall on. I don't know.
a lot of
I try not to sound bitter about it, but I'm just like, man, the places that we could go, and because we want to go do a West Coast tour, and things on the West Coast are definitely further spread apart that we'd like to do, and I'm like, man, that would pay for a West Coast tour right there.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So your new album,
Mm,
the horror of things to come. So you sent me an email, or you probably blasted out to everybody. I'm not special by any means, peeps, but
you're on a short list.
you sent out an email, and I love your comment in it. This one might get us in trouble, I believe, is what the message in the body of the email was. And I'm like, well, this is going to be interesting. So I'm listening through the song, and at first I went, Patrick, get out of my head, man. Just get out of my head, because that whole song, the lyrics, is stuff that just is constantly going around in my head. So you took the chance of, I would say, offending 3% of the people only, but the
Mm.
loudmouth's probably about 47, 48% of the people. That took guts. That took guts to write the title song of your album.
Well, we don't have a career really to lose, and we can't get canceled because we are nobody. We're nobodies from nowhere. So who are we going to offend? Really at the end, we're nobody. It's not like we have a label or anything like that we have to answer to, and the only people we have to answer to really in the end is the Lord. So
Yeah, yeah,
I don't. I mean, no, we didn't set out to offend anybody. I mean, it's like I said, if you love somebody, you're going to tell them the truth.
yeah.
You're going to speak truth into their life, and
I mean, I don't dig on the song because I think it offends, somebody with a differing opinion of mine. I welcome those people. I love talking to those people that have that
yeah,
different opinion. I like it because it's just so truthful and so honest.
well,
One lyric, and I'm gonna butcher it, and I apologize right now to the artist, but uh, the one line in there, is it my daughter that used to be my son? I think it's
yeah.
something similar to
When the
that.
daughter you have used to be your son. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but that is something that people are
Sorry, you
dealing with.
froze up there for a second.
Oh, sorry about that.
No, it's
Um,
fine.
that lyric, that is something that people are dealing with more and more all of the time because of, quite frankly, the garbage that they are pushing at a very young age. I mean, kindergarten, first graders, they're talking about this now. So, if we're not going to draw attention to it and show people how wrong that is through your music and what the answer is on the other side of that music, shame on all of us.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm not going to apologize for thinking I think it's wrong to chemically castrate your children.
No.
I'm not going to apologize for that. The title track I wrote after watching the news about a man in Texas who was fighting his ex-wife. I think it's Texas, over she was wanting to transition their son, and he was fighting this, and he was losing in the courts. And this is kind of the peak of the woke movement. And it was, I think it was right before everybody just said, you know what, enough's enough. And I can't, I don't, she had won in one court, and it was kind of going forward. And anyways, long story short, I was upset. I was beside myself and about the whole thing. I don't care what you do as an adult.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're an adult, do whatever you want.
Yep.
But it's not going to be the best for you, even as an adult. But leave children alone.
100%.
Leave children out of it. Yeah. But that's the whole point of the album, though. And what we're trying to wake people up to is all the evil in the world is not directed at adults. It's being aimed at children. They're trying to get to the children.
Exactly. My whole point is, if they can't kill them in the womb, they're going to turn them against you, and they're going to turn them against themselves if they can escape the womb. And that's the kind of society we have. I speak often of this subject on our live shows, that I still, I'm not turning this political by any means, but if you can't see the correlation or the vast differences between leftists, I'm not talking Democrats, I'm talking leftists.
Extreme leftists.
Yeah. And I do not understand the fascination of the manipulation and mutilation of children. It's like inbred in some of these people. So we live in the middle of nowhere, Nebraska now, but we came out of Minneapolis a couple years ago. And if you want to talk about a freak state,
my brother lives in Buffalo.
Oh, okay. I say Minneapolis. We lived in Spring Lake Park. Out by Buffalo, they have one of the greatest restaurants out there. That's the best burger in the metro area, by the way. Just a little side note. So out in a little town called Laredo, about 10 miles from Buffalo. But anyways, we came out of Minneapolis, and I always called Minneapolis Berkeley East, because their politics. And
my brother tells me all the time.
Oh yeah, thankfully Tim Walz is not going to be the vice president, because that man he's insane.
He's a nutcase.
He is absolutely insane. And Tim Walz, I might tag you on this just so you know, you are nuts. You're crazy. You are absolutely nuts. And his fascination with this whole subject we're talking about, the mutilation.
Oh yeah.
So he signed an executive order making Minnesota a sanctuary state for gender affirming care, to a point where, if, just like in Texas, is if the parents were disagreeing, the state could actually take custody of the child. And it's like, who do you think you are? I mean, it's wrong.
Yeah, my brother sends me photos of, like, he'll go into a restaurant, or they hate him outside of Minneapolis. They hate him with a passion. There's a pizza place there that has a picture of him up on the wall that says, "Do not serve this man."
That is awesome.
And I'll send you some less kind photos that he sent me of some stuff they post in their restaurants, because he pretty much tried to shut them all down during COVID anyway. But
yeah.
Because in his famous line, there's nothing in rural Minnesota except cows and rocks. That's who I wanted as my vice president.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think America dodged a huge bullet there. Like I said, I'm not going to talk about
cannonball.
Oh man, I mean it could have been bad. It could have been very, very bad. And it's one of those things where I look back and I'm glad. All right, get ready. I'm glad they rigged the 2020 election, because if Trump would have stayed in there, he wouldn't have got anything done, between 2020 and now. Him coming back in now, he knows everything that he did wrong. He's not going to surround himself with a bunch of people that are just looking after, a way to really short end the American people. And more importantly, he is the most including Ronald Reagan, my favorite president of all time. He is the most pro-life president ever. Period.
Well, I hope that he can do something. I'm skeptical at best that he can, and he's not made it into the White House yet.
Yeah, that's a
And
good
I mean, I have opinions,
point. So do I.
but so he's got to make it. He's got to make it into the White House first.
Yeah, he's got what 40 days to go. So
It's a long time
yes,
before
yes.
he darkens the door of the White House.
So what is coming up next for Faithhead? Are you guys kind of like on a hiatus of touring right now,
Yeah.
just because of the time of the year?
Yeah, normally we after our October shows, we kind of go on break from November and December. Though right now we have a show in Memphis in January, like the first weekend in January, which is kind of odd. First time we've tried to play Memphis 3 times, and 3 times we've failed. So maybe twice. I don't know. It's been multiple. I know 2 for sure. First time we were supposed to play Memphis, we were on our tour in July of 2019 and had a blowout and flipped the trailer. That was on the Genesis tour. The one of the times after that, we had it booked, and it was the venue got double booked, and we got booted off the bill. And the same thing happened again when we were on tour in 22 with Bread for War and 3 Days Under. The venue got double booked, and we got kicked off.
Wow. Do you ever look at those times and say something was going to happen there, or do you look at it and say now is not the right time?
It's a great question.
Pragmatically, it's as a Christian, it's like, is the enemy attacking, or is it just not the right time to be there?
Well, I would say with confidence that the first time it was God trying to teach us a lesson about who's in control. We should have died on that wreck. The state trooper said, just trying to figure out why that trailer didn't just come up and flatten us was beyond physics. We learned a lot on that first tour in 2019. We had to be in San Angelo, Texas, the next night, because the show that we were playing was going to be simulcast on the internet and on the radio all across Texas. So we had to be there for that. And the day of the tour, the first day of the tour, we wrecked, and day 2 was when we were supposed to be in San Angelo.
Wow.
So I'm trying to make a long story very short, but through the help of some friends and God's me, excuse me. I'm not getting choked up about it, but God showed up, and we got a U-Haul at the last minute, and we literally from like 1 in the afternoon to like 8 o'clock at night, we basically had to go to our trailer was on its side on the side of the road. We're trying to get stuff out of it, but all the lighting trusses and all that stuff are still in the trailer when the wrecker hauled it off. So we had to literally run, go to find a U-Haul, go to the wrecker, the wrecker yard, get all the rest of our stuff out of it, load up, and take off again, because it was like 16 hours from where we were to San Angelo, Texas. And it was a miracle that we were able to get a U-Haul trailer. It was amazing that 95% of our stuff didn't get demolished. And then when we got to Dallas, Texas at 5 o'clock on a Friday during rush hour traffic, God just parted the traffic. Now, I've been in Dallas for work many, many times. And if you've ever been in Dallas during rush hour, it's typically, and this is 2019, It's basically a parking lot.
Wow.
We may have stopped for like a second or two, but we never stopped. We
Wow.
were an hour late getting to San Angelo, and but God showed up and showed out, and He continued to bless us all throughout that tour. Now, the other two times, whether or not we were meant to be there or not, I can't say. It could be that God was trying to save us from something, or it was not the right time. I I try to look at things with um, two sets of eyes. One's like, well, sometimes stuff happens. The other time is what is God trying to teach me in this moment? What's going on? Back in the early days, when we were playing, a lot of times when we were playing in bars, I got to a point where I was kind of questioning, why we were there. I was talking to my pastor at the time. I'm like, are we casting our pearls before swine? We were playing a showdown in Huntsville, Alabama, and this guy was completely ripped out of his head. And he was like, "You guys are effing awesome. This is, you're the best band." And he had no clue that we're up there playing Jesus music. And I talked to him about it, and he was like, "Well, he gave me the stereotypical pastor advice." And then we went to Nashville a few weeks later, and we were playing a St. Patrick's Day show. And it was like, I think it was one of the, I can't remember if that was the first show that we did with 3 Days Under or not. But it was in Nashville, and it was a place called Bellshire Pizza. And after during the show, we kind of had a little moment where I was like, "Hey, do you know why you're here tonight drinking green beer?" And I kind of told the story of St. Patrick, how he was, kind of a nobleman, got kidnapped and was made a slave in Ireland. Then he escaped, came back, and had such compassion. The whole story. And I'm sitting here for about 2 minutes explaining all this, because he, because God, he loved his captors. God put that love in his heart to go back to minister to them.
Yep.
And so it was about a month later after that. We get a message from Lenny, who owned the place, and he just wanted to say, "Hey guys, I just want to let you know such and such, who was a regular there, just he like died, and we want to let you know." He said he loved the band and all this, that, and the other thing. And I got to thinking, God sent us there. I believe God sent us there to minister to that man one last time.
Yep.
And
It might have been the only person that needed to hear that message in that entire place. Not saying it
yeah,
was, but it could have
yeah.
very easily been. And that's amazing.
There's some artists that it's like, oh, who wants to go and play for 5 people? Well, we do, if it's depending on those 5 people.
Yep.
I'm not, like I said, we don't have a label to feed.
Right.
We don't have, we have monthly expenses, because we got to have a web page and, all the other things that go along with, promoting music, social media, and all that stuff. But we always want to go where we're called, and even if it's some hole in the wall place. But I always try to keep that in mind when I'm, so, we get frustrated just like everybody else. Like, go do a show and like, was anybody into it? Do we lose them? There is a little bit of a showbiz aspect to it, because we're trying to refine our sets. We're a live band. There's
Right.
no tracks. When you hear a screw up, it's genuine. It's real. And if we're going to screw up, we're going to screw up well. And I've put a lot of videos out on our YouTube channel this last couple of weeks of some of our latest live performances, so everybody can hear the new guys and hear some of the new music performed live, which is probably about 30 or 40 beats per minute faster than it is on the album. But hey, we're a live band. That's all I can say. Did I answer your question?
I think so. Yes, I think you got it. You know what? Here's the deal, right? We do it. We do it for that one, right? And we grab
Yeah.
more than that. It's kind of a mantra on our show. It's God. God told us that when we started this, you go for that one, get one person for the kingdom. I don't know if we've gotten that person yet, so we're going to keep going. But if that
What?
one person gets on fire for God, you know, the coattails of that one person.
Yeah.
And again, going back to, I mean, we've got to do everything we can. If we can get one person in and 10,000 angels are rejoicing because he walked into the kingdom that day, all the time and money. I mean, we get frustrated here too. Small
Yeah.
little station and self-funded and doing all that stuff. But I mean, we're trying to keep clear eyes on this, and the clear eyes are directly focused on God.
Well, the direction that I think that we're headed, I don't think we're going to do anything any different, even if we ever did manage to find some label that was dumb enough to put us on it. That's at this point.
I don't know. I tell you what, after this last album, or this is like your first full length album, right?
No, we had
Oh, that's
our
right.
first album, we have first full length album, which was Are You a Faith Head? Then we had an EP, Genesis, and then ever since 2020, we've been trying to do this full length album.
Yeah.
It was 4 years in the making.
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, if labels, if you're looking to get on a label and labels are listening through this album, I love the whole album. I think, for me, we were talking earlier about Freak Show, and kind of going up. And I know you've been in the business for 30 years, but it just seems this maturation process that I'm hearing from Freak Show to where you're at now.
Yeah.
It's incredible. I mean, even though you threw a song on the album that I can't even pronounce because I think it's in Latin, but that's fine.
Melody Madera Portito.
Yeah,
it's basically melodies. It's melodies for the lost.
I understand it, but why do you got to drop it so easy? I struggle with even saying it, and it just rolls off your tongue.
It's Melody Portito Banana.
Oh, I thought you were Chattanooga, not Alabama, but that's fine.
So the first album I had a lot of writing on. I think the half of the songs on the first album I was the primary songwriter. Then everybody else collaborated. And on this one I was the primary songwriter, but I had more collaboration on this one as well. I don't like going into the band with a completely finished product,
right?
Because one, my ego doesn't demand it. Two, if I said, this is it, you're playing it this way, then that's when bad ideas get through. And I'm very appreciative of LeBron Estrada, Dale, Jimmy, and Tyler, who took the ideas that I brought to the table and ran with them. They did an excellent job. LeBron added that nuance to the guitar parts that I just don't have. I couldn't pinch a harmonic to save my life. I can do it on bass all day long. I can on bass, but when on a guitar, it's like, I just can't do it. But LeBron and Tyler both have those, sweet fingers, that can pinch harmonics and things like that. And, LeBron took a lot of my good ideas and made them great. So I can't say.
I think that's where, as an artist, that's where that humility comes in. Because if you're going to be dictatorial and say, no, this is my song, this is how I want it done, you're kind of shunting their God-given talent. You're shunting what God has given them, and also, in a way, doesn't it give them ownership of the finished product?
Oh yeah, the analogy I use is everybody gets to put their Lego piece on it.
Yeah,
and I think it's
only don't step on it barefooted.
And even when it comes to the words, I tell Jimmy and Adam before him, I said, I don't care if you change my words, just don't change my meaning. That's all I care about. Just we don't have Rob Zombie lyrics where it's just a bunch of colorful metaphors, painting a picture. That's not what we do.
Right.
There's always has to be a message there. We always have to point to hope, though this album's a little bit on the darker side,
but you still have hope on it. That's what's awesome about it. And that's why, I mean, I used to be really big into, secular music, like I'm sure all of us was. And And I got away from that years ago. Gotten into Christian radio many years ago. But the thing with for me with Christian music compared directly to secular music, I'm not talking about the musicality of it, but really the lyrics and the meaning behind it. You've got to search long and hard in the secular world to find a song that has hope at the end of it, where Christianity in it, someone might look at the title of your album and they go, "Well, how can this be Christian?" Well, then they start getting into it, and you have the hope.
Yeah.
We know what the end game is, and that's what the whole ministry is about.
Sure. No, I completely agree. The the title, the horror of the horror of things to come was not the original title for the album. It's had a title since 2019, but we in the process, everybody's like the song that was going to be the title track. Everybody's like, we got you got better ideas than this. I'm like, oh, okay. So that one, I'll have to release it with like Jason, who I co-wrote it with, the original singer. We may release it later as something on a side project, but no, the horror of things to come was one of those titles. Is like I said, I think like we've been moving in this direction for a while.
Yeah.
Because you can only have so many worship songs, and we don't really have, maybe one song I consider to be a worship song, and that's Jehovah Jireh. And that was, I don't know if I intentionally did that or not, but I guess of all the songs in our catalog, Jehovah Jireh is really the only worship song that, if you had to classify it as that.
Sure.
But my original thought behind Faithhead is no one's writing Christian music that I like. A lot of times, other than the inspiration to start the band, it's like I don't, I feel like we're a weird outlier amongst our peers. We get dropped into this classic metal category a lot. I'm like, classic metal? I guess we're classic metal. We're inspired by
I think your earlier stuff could be almost classic Southern metal. And then all of a sudden, now you drop this one, and it's like, dude, this is crazy.
Well, we still have the twang there. It's just those particular songs didn't make it on this one. Yeah. There's some funky stuff. There's some. There was 3 songs that I really wanted to be on the album that didn't make it. Two in particular.
Well, that means there's going to be more singles dropping later, then.
Probably. I'd like to actually get out and play a little bit, considering we spent the whole of 2023 recording. We'll probably record sometime maybe in the spring, maybe a song or 2. You never know.
Nice. So the first single that came off of this was the title track. What's the next? Do you know the next one that you're dropping?
Well, the first single that came off the album was "Aberrations of Reality."
Oh, that's right. I bought the single of that, and then ended up buying the whole album. So
yeah, and then the single that followed that one was "Artificial God." We released,
yes,
yeah. There's 2 singles that preceded the album, and "Artificial God" was one that I almost didn't put. I mean, I wrote it, and at the time, at the end of 2022, Adam Reed, who was the singer at the time, he came to me and said, I'm going to have to step away from the band. I got too much going on in life. And, we all have, most of us, except for Tyler and LeBron, we all have lives, kids, and mortgages. And it's like life is, getting too busy, and I'm having a hard time finding time. It's fine. I understand. We're still friends. We still chat. We still text. We talk. Go to church together. It's not that big of a deal. And then when Jimmy came back in, I was like, "There's not going to be a 4th singer for Faithhead. It's either you're coming back, Jimmy, or we're done." He's like, "No pressure." And at the time, he lived like over 200 miles away, but he was moving back anyway. So. I was like, yeah, well, because it's either going to be a guest, we're going to have guest vocalists on this album, or or it's somebody and we're done, or I don't know. I was pretty bitter about it at the time. I was like, okay, we've been at this for a while. Maybe this is it. every band's got an expiration date. You don't know when it is, but
I don't know. Say it's like Seventh Day Slumber. I think they're going on like 42 years.
I have my opinions about that too. But anyways, Adam gives me this news, and I was like, and then I remember we have a group chat called Slack where we, because group texts just blow your phone up. So we got this chat program that we're in, and I'm like, I wrote this song called Artificial God. I don't know if you want it on the album or not. And I just plopped it out there. And like a few hours later, LeBron calls me up and says, "Hey man, this is like the best song." I'm like, yeah, it's a bit of a mess. You're going to have to fix that whole beginning. It's just kind of like me. It's all demos. It's like, you're going to have to fix that beginning, and he's like, came back later. He's like, okay, what, I'm like, it's like, and I was telling him, it's like, well, what do you want to do for like a solo section? It's like, well, I was thinking about doing guitar harmonies, but, I was like, you've come up, and LeBron wrote like the guitar harmony bit in the middle there, or towards the end. So
people, man.
It's good to have talented people to pick up where I dropped the ball. That's all I can say.
I think you got quite a bit of talent, man. So yeah, I mean the album is incredible. You guys got to go out there and get it. And like I said, if you could afford to, I know it's a crazy time of the year. We're all overextending on credit cards, or if that's what you're doing. But help these bands out and help these ministries out. So you're mainly the lyricist, but you also, and I don't know if you even want to talk about this and promote it, but I jumped on your page of your writings today, and I just want to talk briefly about it because, dude, you're an incredible writer. I really, really enjoyed it. I really got into the AI article that you wrote. That is good. And then as I'm reading that, in my mind, I'm going, okay, well, now the title makes sense for the album. Because
I'm such a happy guy.
I don't know, you make some really great points, and you get people really thinking. So yeah, what is your name of your writing website?
It's From the Bottom End. I used to write for Jesus Wire. I was doing reviews and things like that, and I'd write stuff like this, and I'd send it to them, and they would never put it out. They're like, they never really said. It's like, you need to send some photos with that. Like, photos. I got to send some photos with it.
I don't know, man. You dropped a whole bunch of videos in there, and they're very educational, actually.
Well, the gist of it is, I see things through biblical eyes,
right?
And I don't worship the God in the box. I try to see God for who he is, not what man, tradition, denomination, translation says that he is, because we're comfortable with the God in the box. This is a great song title. I should probably write that. But I try to, I try to see things for what they are, and what God, I think, God gave us a mind, we have a brain. I think we're supposed to use it. And when I see something of interest that I feel like there's something spiritual there, there's something going on there behind the scenes, that God is moving, or Satan is Lord of this world. We know Christ is coming back to reclaim it.
Yep.
When Christ comes back, he will be a king. He will not be a servant. He came the first time to serve.
Yep.
The second time he will come to rule. So when you look at the world and everything that's happening on the world stage, you could say the world is falling apart, or you could say everything is falling into place.
Amen.
Now, the other thing that, I think Christians, American Christians, have a heightened sense of self importance. But America is not mentioned in biblical prophecy.
Yep.
There's not that I've looked at all the metaphor and all that fun stuff. We're not there. We're not there, y'all.
Yep.
So that means, it kind of you have to draw one or two conclusions. Either the United States does not exist, or we're not a significant player on the world stage when this time comes.
Yep.
Now, there's some people that I've heard to say, well, it's because the United States, being a Christian country, most of the people are raptured out. Well, I'd love to think that. I really would.
Yeah.
I would love to believe that.
Yep.
But I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can believe that. It could be true. Maybe. I try to keep an open mind within the scope of my beliefs and reality and the facts as they are. Because as we open the show talking about, our faith is not a blind faith.
Yep.
There's evidence.
There's evidence all around us. And, I'm going to be the person that's going to believe in the evidence of it.
Yeah.
We know that a man named Jesus walked the earth. Josephus told us, and he was not a friend of the Christians.
No.
We know that he died on the cross, and we know not we believe, we know that 3 days later he rose from the dead.
Yeah,
and we know that.
Yeah, we know of the time that Jesus lived, something happened in Jerusalem. Something happened there, that split Judaism. There's no doubt that something happened. Yep. Now, the faith part of it is you have to have faith that what the history of the church says happens, what happened. And then there's evidence to support those claims.
Yep.
Now,
I think that's why we all have to be faith heads, man.
Yeah, you gotta be a faith head on some extent.
Yeah.
You have to have faith that God's going to stay true to his word, that he will not leave us nor forsake us.
Yeah. My mom and dad were both ordained ministers. I was a stereotypical preacher's kid that felt as far away from God as possible. But my
sounds
mom
familiar.
My mom was also a genius, a certified genius. She was brilliant. She was a computer before there was computers. That's what she did. She was a mathematician, but she always said, I am, not arrogantly, she goes, I am too smart not to believe in God, because the evidence is so, it's almost academic that it's so simple that God's presence is all around us. And, she always used to jive. She goes, it's up to every individual person. And she would tell me this, it's up to you to grab onto that and to believe in that. She goes, so if you want to be an idiot and don't believe in God, be an idiot. She goes, I'm too smart for that. So my mom, she was, I got a lot of my stuff from my mom. So
yeah, Ravi Zacharias, he, even though his ministry and his life kind of ended in a disaster, and he was, I guess he was blessed that he didn't live long enough to see it all fall apart. But he had a saying that I think, regardless of what he was doing in his private life, he had a saying that was true, is that there is enough evidence in the world, in history, to believe that God exists. But there's enough left out that you can't do it by evidence alone. I'm kind of butchering it.
Right.
But there's enough evidence to believe, and that it's a rational thing, but there's enough left out that you can't do it by reason alone.
Exactly. And that's where the faith comes in.
Yeah. That's the faith part.
Yeah.
But, that's kind of where I take my writings. There's enough evidence in the world to believe that there are things happening.
Yeah.
You're talking about the AI article. If you look at all the evidence, and all the technology that's available, everything's getting set for the stage, the world stage, for the Antichrist to be able to come to implement the mark of the beast. And whether that'll be a QR code, whether that'll be a chip in your hand, whether that'll be whatever. I mean, there's plenty of biotechnologies.
Yeah.
You
I mean,
know,
you're
there.
talking about nanotech,
Oh
in
yeah,
your food or whatever, I mean, there's all sorts of ways, and
you did read.
I did.
You did read it.
You can get away from it if you go live in a log cabin in the woods, I believe
Yeah.
is what you said. So, yeah, I mean, but with all these things around us, it's going to be more important than ever for people just to stay focused in your faith. You have to, because the world may crumble around us, but you know what? I've read book 66. We're going to be good. We're going to be good.
Yeah. The long and the short of it is, you have to have faith that God is going to take care of you. Now, I know there's some people that's pre-trib, mid-trib, and post-trib, and I don't have an opinion on it. I'm hoping for the best, preparing for the worst. But you know, and to the folks who say that Christians go through the rapture, Christians need to really understand what it is. It has nothing to do with the church. It has everything to do with Israel. Why would God pour his wrath out on the church when he's already poured it out on his son?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't, I mean, that's just a simple way of talking about that argument. But I mean, if you want to believe it, I'm not going to stop you. I'm not going to, you believe what you want. I don't think that's in God's nature.
No.
I don't think it. I mean, we will reap the consequences of our actions and our inactions. And I think that's what America is dealing with right now. We're dealing with the consequences of our inactions.
100%. I think that's the key, the inactions.
The church, we have tried to stay apolitical, and it has not gotten the church anywhere.
No.
The problem we have is that no one righteous, no one good will ever want to step onto the political world stage, because they will go back to when you were in grade school or a teenager, and they're going to find something. They literally go deep diving into your past. So they're going to find that one person. Oh yeah, when Timmy was 9 years old, he pulled my pigtails or something else. They're always going to try to find the dirt on you. And who wants to put themselves through that?
Yeah.
No decent person is going to want to have to deal with that. And that's just why you got all these sycophants and personalities and, trying to be, president or senator or congressman, or right or left. They're all crooks in my book.
Yeah.
It's just a different type of criminal that they are. Some of them are trying to get that golden parachute and get a little cash on the side from the lobbyists. And
well, I don't know of a single person that's gone into government for a long time, and I haven't done all the research, but I've done a bit, and I don't know of a single one that has gone into government work at a national level, especially, and that has not come out much wealthier and much morally bankrupt.
yes.
So that's just my thought. I might be wrong. Maybe they're all princes, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know either, but I'm with you. It's like, how did you go in making $200,000 a year and coming out multimillionaire?
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
Something's not right there, boys. Something's not right.
Yep. Hey, well, I see once again, I always think that these chats are going to be like 32 minutes long, and I've doubled it up again, brother. I apologize.
You are absolutely fine. I'm a talker.
Yeah, I just enjoy, like I said, I said at the beginning, I don't really do interviews. I like having conversations with people. So, and just talking with people that have, I mean, whether we agree 100% or not, I just like having conversations. So,
well, let's not wait this long to do it again.
I 100% agree. Anytime you want to jump on, Patrick, I'm willing to sit down and discuss maybe more of your writings too, because you got to give me a little bit more time to read through them. I just came across them last week. So what was it again?
From the bottom in.
From the bottom in, you guys got to do
.com. Or if you like, you can go to the pfunkprophecies.com. It'll get you. Both of them will get you there, from the bottomin.com or the pfunkprophecies.com. It'll get you there. Now, again, and I always end all my articles with, I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I'm not,
Are you sure you don't listen to our live shows a lot? Because I say that a lot. Or I could be wrong.
I mean, I
try to have. Higher Christians may have it right, and maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
I try to have informed opinions, and I try my best to go through there and everything that I've read, everything that I've watched, so you can see where I formulated my opinion from. I state my sources.
Yes, and all I'm going to say is if you go over there and you read the article on AI, and go back and watch Terminator 2. And if you don't see a correlation here, then I guess we got what's coming to us.
Is that not the freakiest thing? How close we are to making not just the Terminator, but the T-2000 with the liquid metal stuff? Is that not crazy?
It's nuts, man.
It is nuts. I mean, it's like that movie came out in like 1991.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was a sophomore in high school.
Yeah. Oh man, I got shoes older than you. But it's crazy, man. I told you I actually did show prep. I read your articles.
Well, and I'm thoroughly impressed. When you start talking about the nanite technologies, now, is that not scary?
Oh man, that's crazy, man. It's crazy. Like I said, I was reading through it, and I'm like, okay. A lot of times, and it's just kind of the way I read things is I speed read a lot of things. I kept going back and going, no, I didn't just read that, and I went, oh yeah, I did read that. So it's a great article. I might even tag that article on in the tagline of this.
Well, that's where the song, doing that research is where the song Artificial God came from. After doing all that research on AI, and I'm thinking, my goodness, it's frightening. Yeah. It's like when the Bible talks about they will seek death and they shall not find it.
Yep. Wow.
Now, I'm not saying, Terminators, but I'm just saying the whole transferring your consciousness into something electronically. That's a hell you can't escape.
Exactly. And AI, as you said, they don't have a timeline. They don't it doesn't have to happen right away. They can wait.
It's got the long game.
Wait, exactly. And us mortals can't wait around that long. So be ready.
But yeah, if you wanna do, when you want to pick an article and you want to sit and talk about it one time, I'm good with that. I'm on vacation through the rest of the year. I need to sit down and pin some stuff. But the problem is I've been doing articles on what's happening in our skies, and if you've noticed, I've got like 4 or 5 of those, and I need to do one on this drone thing in New Jersey, because it's all of it's related. Yeah. But I got a friend who works in the DOD who kind of sends me stuff every now and then, and I'm like,
oh, this is going to be another great episode.
Yeah, there's so whatever you think is happening, you don't know the half of it.
Yeah.
And there's so much, the sad part is there's so much stuff in the public domain, it's hidden in plain sight.
And I think a lot of it, they probably keep it back from us because, in the end, humans are stupid. We panic, we over exaggerate everything. So maybe it is in our best interest. We don't know what's going on in New Jersey right now.
Well,
I guarantee you, it wouldn't happen down in Texas. They're going to be shooting these things out of the sky.
Oh no, that's why it's not happening in Tennessee. Be like, get it, man.
Yeah, people in Tennessee are, come on. Okay, I don't know why I went New York on there, but
hey, there's rednecks in New York too. I know plenty of them.
Yeah. So Patrick, anyways, I do appreciate your time. I apologize for going over. I had a great time though. So, and all you guys out there, like we talked about, get out there and support these bands. It's not just the music that we're supporting; it's the ministry that's behind it, and that's so much more important Nothing against your music, man. I dig on your music, but the ministry is where it all gets done. And you can minister from the stage, through your lyrics, and it's so important.
Yeah.
So, do what you can to support them. Again, buy a shirt, buy a hat, buy a bracelet, download a song. All of that helps. All of that helps. These guys are the frontline warriors. I say this about every artist out there. I'm the logistics behind it. I'm the guy that's putting up, the human shields that are Patrick and the rest of the artists, and I'm hanging out in the back, just I'm using what little talent I have to help support these bands, and I really hope and pray that you guys do too. Patrick, any closing words?
Well, again, I want to thank you and the Radio 13 FM family for having us. We try to support y'all. I know you don't have a Twitter account, but we mention you on a regular basis on Twitter. Maybe you'll come over to the X people and maybe create an account and get.
I actually created an account and I've never posted on there, I don't think. So,
yeah, well,
I do have to get on there. So,
well, anyways, we support y'all through that, and anytime you want anything from us, we're here. I love having long form conversations like this, and I should probably focus on brevity a little bit, but I can't help it sometimes because there's some of these subjects I dive into and I can't stop. But
I think we're very like-minded on that, sir.
Time is short. This is the thing. Death is certain and time is short. And there's, like I said, if this was about me, I would have quit a long time ago.
Right.
Because and a lot of times it's very hard. And I would appreciate everybody go to faithhead.com, sign up for our newsletter. We'll send you the title track of the new album for free. Faithhead.com will take you to where you can stream, you can buy merch. If you want to make a tax deductible donation, there's a donate link. We are part of Artists in Christian Testimony or Artists in Community Transformation. That's kind of the secret, name for people who are trying to get into secular spaces. But we are a 501c3. It'd be a great time of the year to help us make plans. You can make a one-time donation or, become a monthly supporter. We appreciate it. Like I said, we got plans we'd like to fulfill and get out on the road again. We do our best work. 45 minutes on stage, an hour on stage is fun, but the real ministry happens off stage in the merch booth. I've got tons of stories I can tell. I don't share them all the time. Sometimes if I do an interview, I'll share a story, but I feel like that's private. No one needs to know all the gory details of what happens, because people share their lives with us, and I'm not trying to profit off that, not that we would ever make money anyway, but it's like I told you about the story from St. Patrick's Day. Well, that was 5 years ago. Right. And that place is long gone, but I want to keep people's privacy private, but I don't want y'all to think we're just out there a bunch of middle-aged men trying to be rock stars either. No, we're serious about our ministry, and we try to meet people where they are and love them where they are, but speak the truth to where they are too. So faithhead.com, we'd appreciate it.
Amen, brother. And again, it was great. It doesn't cost you guys anything to sign up for their emails, or for their subscription. So do what you can to support them. You're going to continue to be a staple on radio13.fm.
Thank you.
Truly do appreciate you and appreciate you everything that you're doing for the kingdom, man. Patrick, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.